Alright, YouTube. So this week we're going to be resolving issues. So we have an assortment of things sitting here on the table in front of us. We got our oil pump, we got our radiator, and here in this box we have a nice, pretty Mirage water pump. So one of the issues that we had was the amount of room that was available between the motor, the block, and the top frame rail. So we weren't actually able to get our water or our oil pump up in there far enough. So the bracket that was already on it, we actually had to cut off. So you can see here where the bracket was, we have now cut it off. And we've started building our own bracket, which is right here. I know it's beautiful, but it's going to mount up right there on top of the oil pump. So we'll have to cut some holes in it. We got to weld this on, take this thing apart in pieces. We got to be real careful because there's some bearings and things like that inside here that we don't want to get too hot. But we'll put that on. We'll get it cleaned up, looking nice and pretty. As for the radiator, now this car doesn't technically need a radiator, but we're putting one on it. We got to put the oil pump. We're going to do, the water pump. We want the water pump to mount on the radiator itself instead of somewhere else in the car. So we got to weld this bracket onto the radiator itself right there. And then a couple other things. Let me grab this. A couple other things that we're going to be conquering this week as well is this gap here in between the block and the intake itself. Somewhat common. Ours is pretty significant, but we got to get that closed up. So here in the front and in the back, we're going to make some aluminum pieces to put in there and seal that off and to get that closed up. And then also we got up here on the throttle bodies, one of the things that's kind of nerve-wracking is we got to put these flanges on the end. So when we ordered these, they actually already had a flange on it. Well, we pulled them out of the box. I wasn't paying attention. We bolted them up. So when you bolt them up, no longer will they take them back. So it didn't have a setup for a V-band or a clamshell. So we had to get these flanges here and cut the end off. And we're going to weld these on so they'll work with the clamshell clamps and obviously our intake tubes. So that's where we're at. That's what we're going to be working on this week. It's going to be fun. So let's stay tuned. piece we're welding on right here. It's going to go here, on the back side of this. Gonna mount onto here. But this little shroud is in the way here, so we're gonna go ahead and cut this down just a little bit, make it fit. The bracket is welded on. Got her nice welded all the way around there. I will say it was not easy getting down in here. Still pretty warm, but getting down in there to get weld. But now we can throw back side of the water pump on there, and then the water pump will be able to be mounted on there. So we're gonna get everything cleaned up, put the shroud and the fan back on, and then we'll put the water pump on.
Got some stuff under there.
Just joining us, the injury to Matthew Stafford came early in this game in the first quarter. Watch right here, his right leg just kind of connecting with Devin White, and that seemed to do it for him. Immediately went over and got it. All Buccaneers in control here today.
Tied up against this edge.
Tom Brady with a 4-touchdown pass, 348-yard first, has not played since. Lane Gabbert, and Keyshawn Vaughn in the backfield.
Let's see, we got too far.
We got us a new TV going in. So now we can actually see the daggum thing. So Dad's working on putting that up. We're never gonna leave down here now. I'd say. Getting better than that.
At touchingmodern.com, we get that the things
done. We've taken this section off the pump and we're going to weld the bracket onto the face here, but we're going to lay it down flat because we got to ensure that this bracket stays flat here so it mounts up flat on the motor plate. So I got to take this rubber out of here because obviously it's going to get pretty hot, and what we got to be careful with is that little bearing on the inside. So what I think we're going to do is I'm welding this up. We're going to put a little towel or something down in there, and we're going to drop ice down in it ever so often so we can keep that nice and cool, because it's going to take quite a bit of heat. You can see how thick this metal is. So we're going to lay it flat, clamp it down. We'll see how this goes. Alright, there it is. It's all welded on. We didn't really show any of the welding process, just due to the fact that we needed all hands on deck. Make sure it stayed cool so that bearing stayed cool in there. There's actually, what we noted was there was some rubber down in there as well that glad we were throwing ice at it so we weren't having any issues there, but it's still spinning and looking good inside there. Now we got to take this, grind it down flat where we welded, and we burnt that into that gap there. But it's welded all the way around. It took a lot of heat to get that, but we'll make this pretty once we get it all designed up, thrown on the car. Before we drill the holes in it to mount it on, we may change the shape up a little bit, but it's on there now, and hopefully it'll work. Go
Looks
down
like
to
right
that
at-
far left corner.
Looks
That'd
like
be
right
easy.
at 3/8. Right at 3/8.
Alright, so now we gotta notch it out. I already marked it for this gasket. Thought about just going ahead and cutting the gasket, but figured it'd be pretty easy just to notch it out. And then it should slide right into place. Alright, now that we got them cut, fit, we gotta try to match up the holes. There's already holes drilled, tapped, both sides. So we're gonna try to land them and run them back through those same holes. Obviously we're running a bead of silicone all the way around it, but we're gonna shoot for drilling them now. that's all that's on those.
We just got 2 on each one.
The Washington football team. They're trying to find that receipt for that 15th overall pick with Dwayne Haskins. And the reason I'm saying this is you still draft him, but just not in the first round. Because when you draft a guy in the first round, you're telling me he has all the mechanics, he has the maturity to handle being the focal point of that offense. Dwayne Haskins has not displayed that on or off the football field. That's an area they'll be looking to evaluate and improve on next season. The wide receiver spot, tight ends as well for the New England. And the question mark quarterback will be as well. 3rd down and 7. There's rushing for it. Different steps and fathers cannot connect with Asiasi. Gotten so little production out of the tight ends. The Patriots just 15 catches by tight ends.
Wind up being a blowout, isn't it?
So, want to start out by saying we hope you enjoyed the video. It was a little bit different than the norm on what we've been rolling out, but we wanted to show some behind the scenes stuff, some of the tedious stuff that goes into building one of these hot rods, some of the stuff that people don't always think about, people don't always really know about, and what really makes building one of these hot rods pretty time consuming. So, especially when you don't get the opportunity to work on it every night, you're only limited to weekends or every other weekend. There are a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't always think about. So that's why we wanted to roll it out, and that's why we wanted to share some of that information with y'all, or not necessarily information, but footage for y'all on some of those little nitpicky things that take some time. So with that, I'm also videoing here at my house because when I started putting this video together, I noticed one of two things. I'm either one, losing it, or I've lost a little bit of footage because I was going through some of my videos and I noticed that it wasn't there, and I am pretty positive that I videoed a closing, but I could not find it. So we're going to go with the second one, and that's that I'm still somewhat green to the video world. We got a lot of footage rolled out. We got a lot of footage put together and ready to hit the channel, but we're still green with it. So we're going to go with the second one on that I just misplaced, or I can't find the video. So I'm closing here now, and we are going to attach this to the video. The first thing that I want to note is you saw the closing of the water pump, and with that water pump on the radiator, we actually ended up changing it later on, and I don't have any footage of that, but we had to actually cut it back off, and we had to rotate it towards the motor, the top of the pump towards the motor, because our tube from the throttle bodies actually was going to hit the very top of the water pump. So we actually had to rotate that thing down so it would miss. So it's still mounted in the same location, but we just had to make a little adjustment there. But still pretty similar to the same process. And let's see, the throttle bodies, you can see those here. I'll post a picture, even though it is already shown in the video. Here's kind of the final state. In this picture right here, it actually, I got to go back through and polish them, because moving them around and cutting them and getting everything to fit, it kind of scratched that, or put little fine scratches in the finish there. So we'll actually buff that out. We got quite a few things we want to buff and clean up prior to the completion of the car, but that's what those look like. We're really happy with the way they turned out, and really from the outside, especially when the tubing's on it, you can't tell that those are even flanges welded on there. And then as for the oil pump, that is actually all mounted up, looking good now as well. It's on the car. We went ahead and drilled the holes, and actually you'll see in one of our future videos coming up that we have the belt made and put on as well. So it all worked out, and it looks really good. It fits, and we have the adjustment that we need to tighten that belt and everything in between. And then the last one, with the gaps in between the intake and the motor of the block, closed up really well. I'll post a picture here. It's not the best picture in the world, but you can kind of see it off in the right hand corner of the picture there. You can see, you can't even hardly tell it's there. It really fits in there really nicely, and no gap really. We're gonna go ahead and roll a bead around it. Front and back look exactly the same, but you can see it in the picture right here, and we're really happy with the way it turned out. We landed those holes perfectly and threaded them in, bolted those on. So it all worked out perfect, and we're glad to get through some of that stuff, just because it was some of the stuff that's, you know, kind of nerve-wracking, especially on finished products like that. You know, it's always kind of nerve-wracking to cut into those and weld onto that stuff, but it all turned out really well in our favor, and we're very pleased and happy with the way it did turn out. So with that, you know, I always got to close, and please, whatever you can do, subscribe to the channel, share it, like the video, hit that notification, that bell, all that good stuff. We greatly appreciate it. All you got to do is click down in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. There's a little red button there. It's got like a YouTube subscribe there. All you got to do is click that. You can subscribe, and you can share the link, all that good stuff. It really helps us out. Get this channel out there. We want to keep rolling out some footage and some videos. We're having some fun with it, and we need y'all's help with that. So please share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave some comments or message me or whatever if you got any suggestions or anything like that, that we can make it better. And because we're learning with it every day. We're learning with the car, we're learning with the video, and so far we're having some good time with it. So we can't wait to get this car running and get it out on the track and share some of that footage as well. So please, once again, subscribe. And like always, God bless each and every one of y'all. We hope y'all have a blessed, wonderful week and weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Be happy, be kind, and enjoy life. It's a blessing to be here. You get one shot, you get one opportunity. Live it to the fullest, and do something that you love, and tell someone you love them, give them a hug, and pass those kind words on, and those kind messages. It goes a long way. You may change somebody's life. So God bless each and every one of y'all.